Virgo, you are one of the most self-aware signs in the entire zodiac. That is not a small thing to say. There are many signs that are intuitive, many signs that are sensitive, many signs that pick up on the energy around them, but very few signs that turn that same perceptive power inward the way you do. You notice your own patterns before anyone else has thought to point them out. You register the small shifts in your own body before they become symptoms. You feel the subtle changes in your own emotional weather long before the storm would be visible to anyone looking at you from the outside. You have always been your own most careful observer. So when your energy begins to change at a deep level, not the surface level fluctuations of a hard week or a tiring month, but a true fundamental shift in the energy that underlies everything, you will be the first to know. You will feel it before you can name it. You will sense it before you can explain it. And the 11 things described in this message are the specific signs, the particular sensations, the distinct inner experiences that tell you something real and significant is shifting in your life. Pay close attention. You already know how to listen to yourself. Now is the time to trust what you hear. 1. A sudden sharp clarity about what has been quietly draining you that you have been too busy to name. There is a particular kind of awareness that arrives without warning, a moment when what had been foggy becomes perfectly clear, when what had been vague and general suddenly becomes specific and named. And for Virgo, this kind of clarity is arriving now around something that has been taking more from you than you have been willing to fully acknowledge. You are someone who functions. You carry your weight. You do what needs to be done, you show up, you manage. And you are so capable of managing that it is sometimes very easy to keep going without stopping to ask what the management is actually costing you. The drain has been quiet. It has not announced itself loudly. It has not forced you to stop and pay attention because you are simply too good at continuing. But underneath all that continuing, something has been taking. Something in your life, a relationship, a responsibility, a habit, a role you have been playing, an expectation you have been carrying, has been drawing from your reserves in a way that you have felt but not yet allowed yourself to fully examine. And the shift beginning now includes a sudden, almost startling moment of clarity about what that thing is. Not a gradual dawning, not a slow build toward understanding, a clear, sharp, undeniable moment of recognition where the source of the depletion shows itself plainly. When this moment comes, Virgo, do not rush past it. Do not file it and immediately move on to the question of how to fix it. Sit with the recognition first. Let yourself simply see it, clearly, honestly, without qualification. You have been allowing something to drain you that does not deserve that much of you. That is the truth the clarity is delivering. What you do with it next is for another moment. Right now, the most important thing is simply to see it and to let yourself know what you already, on some level, have known for a long time. The clarity itself is healing. The naming of what has been nameless is the first step towards something different. 2. A tiredness that has nothing to do with sleep. A bone-deep signal from your body and soul asking for something different. You know the difference between tired and exhausted. You know the difference between needing a good night's rest and needing something more fundamental. And what you are beginning to feel now, or what you have been feeling and have been working hard to manage through your usual strategies, is not the kind of tired that a weekend of rest will resolve. It is deeper than that. It sits in a layer beneath your daily functioning, beneath your ability to keep going, beneath the competence and reliability that you present to the world with such consistency. This is the tiredness of someone who has been doing things a certain way for a very long time and whose whole system, body, mind, soul, is sending a unified signal that it is time for something to change. Virgo, you tend to respond to tiredness with efficiency. You assess what is taking the most time and energy, you streamline, you optimize, you try to do more with less effort. And that approach works for many problems. But it does not work for this one because this is not a logistics problem. This is your deepest self telling you, as clearly and directly as it knows how to communicate, that the current arrangement is not sustainable. That something needs to shift, not just on the surface, not just in the schedule, not just in the habits you could optimize, but in the fundamental orientation of how you are living your days. The signal is not subtle now, or rather, it has been subtle for a long time, and your capacity to notice it has grown enough that it feels sharp. Your body knows. Your bones know. The weariness in places that sleep does not reach knows. And the signal all of that tiredness is carrying is not a warning of collapse. It is an invitation. It is your own deepest wisdom telling you, in the most physical, undeniable language available, that there is a different way to live that would feel entirely different from this. That way is available to you, and this feeling, as uncomfortable as it is the beginning of the path toward it. 3. A heightened sensitivity to the energy of the people around you, including what they are feeling but not saying. You have always been perceptive. You read people well. You notice things, the shift in someone's tone, the tension in a room that no one has articulated, the mismatch between what someone says and what their face tells a more careful observer. These things have always been available to you because you pay attention in ways that most people around you do not. But what is beginning now is an amplification of that ability that may feel almost startling at first. The sensitivity is increasing. The range of what you pick up from the people in your environment is expanding beyond your usual frequency of awareness. You may find that you know things you were not told. You may find that you feel, with unusual accuracy, the emotional state of someone before they have said a single word. You may find that conversations that used to flow easily now carry an undercurrent of awareness that makes them feel heavier, more layered, more significant. This heightened sensitivity is part of your energy shifting. As the deeper layers of you begin to stir, as the energy reorganizes itself toward what is coming, your perceptive capacity expands along with it. The parts of you that sense and feel and register become more acute. Can feel like too much sometimes. Can feel like you are picking up more than you asked to carry. And in those moments, Virgo, it is important to remember that what you are feeling from others does not belong to you. You can acknowledge it. You can respond to it with compassion. But you do not need to absorb it or carry it as your own. Part of what this heightened sensitivity is teaching you is discernment, not just about people, but about what is yours to hold and what belongs to someone else's journey entirely. The ability is a gift. Learning its edges is the practice that goes along with it. If what you are hearing feels accurate, know that it could happen if you applied this energy consistently for 21 consecutive days. That is the 21-day challenge pinned at the top of this channel. It is built around daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you are tired of staying in the same cycle, that structure is exactly what has been missing. 4. A persistent hunger for something more nourishing. In your daily life, your relationships, your work, there is something that keeps returning to your awareness, something that does not quite have words yet. A feeling more than a thought, a recognition more than a complaint. It is the sense that what is currently filling your days, your conversations, your working hours, your evenings is not quite enough. Not enough depth. Not enough meaning. Not enough of the kind of substance that leaves you feeling genuinely nourished rather than simply occupied. Virgo, you are not a surface-level being. You have a rich inner life that requires a certain quality of experience to remain vital and engaged. You can function in shallow water, and you have many times for long stretches, but you do not thrive there. And the hunger that is growing in you now is the hunger of someone who has been in shallow water long enough to know clearly that they need to go deeper. This is showing up in multiple areas at once. In your daily routine, there is a restlessness, a sense that the ordinary rhythms of your days have become mechanical in a way that no longer satisfies the part of you that needs meaning in the small things, not just the large ones. In your relationships, there is a longing for conversations that go somewhere real, for connections that hold genuine weight, for the kind of emotional honesty and depth that you are capable of but rarely allow yourself to fully seek out. In your work, there is a growing awareness that what you are doing, however competent you are at it, is not engaging the fullest version of what you have to offer. The hunger is real. It is persistent because it is accurate. It is not a passing mood or a temporary discontent. It is a true signal that the level of nourishment available in your current arrangements has been outpaced by what you have grown into, and that growth is asking for something that matches it. Honor this hunger, Virgo. It knows what it is asking for, even when you are not yet certain. Let it guide you towards something deeper. 5. A natural, gradual pulling away from noise and stimulation and towards something quieter and more restorative. You may have noticed, or you may begin to notice, that certain things that used to feel energizing now feel tiring. Situations that used to seem worth your participation now feel like more than you want to engage with. Conversation that used to flow easily now sometimes feels like more than your energy wants to sustain. This is not a sign of depression or withdrawal. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that your system is reorganizing its priorities, and one of the most fundamental of those reorganizations involves the ratio of input to stillness. For a long time, Virgo, You may have been running at a pace and a volume of engagement that your analytical mind could sustain, but that your deeper self found genuinely depleting. The noise of the world, the demands, the information, the constant stimulation, the expectation that you will always be available, always useful, always engaged, has been taking something from you that is ready now to be reclaimed. The pulling away you are beginning to feel is not avoidance. It is discernment. It is your energy saying with increasing clarity that what it needs in order to complete the shift that is underway is not more input. It is space, quiet, rest that goes beneath the surface, time that belongs entirely to you, not to productivity, not to service, not to anyone else's agenda. When you find yourself drawn toward the quieter evening, the shorter guest list, the simpler plan, the earlier night, follow that pull without apologizing for it. You are not becoming less social, less engaged, or less present to your life. You are becoming more selective, which is a sign of genuine growth. The world will still be there when you return to it with a full tank. Right now, the filling of the tank is the work. 6. A strange and unfamiliar sense of time. It feels both more precious and more available than it has in a long while. Something unusual is happening with your experience of time. You may have felt it already, a quality of days that is different from usual. Not longer in minutes or shorter in hours, but different in texture. There is a sense, in some moments, that time has slowed enough for you to actually be inside your experience rather than moving through it efficiently. There is a sense, in other moments, that the preciousness of what you have, this particular phase of your life, these particular days, the specific people and situations that are present with you right now, is more vivid than it has been in a while. And alongside that preciousness, paradoxically, a sense that you have more time than you thought. More time to get things right. More time to course correct. More time to become who you are still becoming. Virgo, you have spent a great deal of your life living in relationship to time as something that must be used efficiently. You have measured your days by how much was accomplished, how many items were completed, how effectively the hours were deployed. And while that orientation has served many of your goals, it has also kept you in a constant state of reference to what is not yet done, what still needs to be handled, organized, improved, addressed. The shift in how time feels right now is a gift. It is your energy moving into a different relationship with existence itself. One where the goal is not efficiency but presence. Where the question is not what can I accomplish but what is actually here right now that I might be missing while I focus on what is next. Let this new sense of time teach you something, Virgo. Not as a project to be optimized, but as a quiet invitation to actually live inside your days rather than managing them from a slight distance. If this message is resonating with your sign right now, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal at exactly the right moment. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support, whether as a subscriber or as a member of this community, is what keeps these messages alive. The ones that touch hearts, awaken minds, and transform lives. If this video has been making sense to you, drop in the comments the day you were born. Let us keep going. 7. An unusual steadiness in situations that used to trigger your overthinking and your anxiety. You know your own mind well enough to know that it can run hard in certain directions when given the opportunity. The overthinking, the careful, exhaustive examination of every possible outcome of a situation that has not yet been fully resolved, has been a companion to your life for as long as you can remember. You know the feeling of a mind that will not quiet, that keeps returning to the same question from different angles, that mistakes thoroughness for safety and preparation for control. And anxiety, which for Virgo is often the offspring of that overthinking, has had its seasons in your life too. The worry, the bracing for outcomes that have not yet arrived, the readiness for difficulty that sometimes creates its own difficulty. But something is different now. In situations that used to reliably trigger that mental machinery, the uncertainty, the weight, the unresolved question, the conversation that could go any number of ways, you are noticing an unusual quality of steadiness. Not the absence of all concern, not a forced or performed calm, but something more organic than that, a groundedness that is simply there, a quieter confidence that whatever is approaching, you will be able to meet it. This steadiness is new, or perhaps it is not entirely new, but it is more consistent than it has been, more available in the moments that used to feel most destabilizing. This is the energy shifting. As you move toward the next phase of your life, the nervous system that has been running vigilant for so long is beginning to trust itself, beginning to trust you. The overthinking is becoming less necessary because somewhere in you the understanding is growing that you have survived everything that has come before, and that what comes next will be no different. You will meet it, as you have always met everything, with more capability than you expected to find when you arrived at the moment. Rest in this steadiness, Virgo. It is yours. You built it, and it is growing stronger. 8. A desire to create, to organize, to build something from a new and truer starting point. There has always been a creative impulse in you, even if it has not always been named or acknowledged in those terms. Virgo tends to think of creation in practical terms: the systems you build, the structures you organize, the processes you refine, the careful construction of something that functions well and serves a genuine purpose. But what is stirring now is something broader and more expressive than functional creation. It is the desire to build something that reflects who you actually are, not just who you are efficient at being, but who you are at a deeper, truer level. This desire may show up as an impulse to rearrange something physical in your life, your space, your environment, the way your daily world is set up. It may show up as the urge to begin something that you have been circling around for a long time without quite allowing yourself to start. It may show up as a new creative project, or as a renewed commitment to something that has always been meaningful, but that you have been treating as secondary to more pressing responsibilities. What makes this different from ordinary motivation is the origin point. You feel drawn to build from somewhere new, not from the role you are supposed to play, not from the expectations others hold for you, not from the version of yourself you have been performing for the benefit of other people's comfort. From somewhere that is genuinely, specifically, authentically you. That starting point matters. What gets built from that foundation will have a quality of rightness that things built from obligation or performance do not have. Let yourself begin, Virgo. Even imperfectly, even without knowing exactly where it is going. The desire itself is the signal that something in you is ready to be expressed in a new way, and the world, in its specific and surprising ways, is ready to receive what you will make. 9. An old wound surfacing, not to destabilize you, but because it is finally ready to be fully, completely healed. This one may be the most difficult to sit with, but it may also be the most important to understand clearly. Something old is rising. Something that happened a long time ago, or something that has its roots in an early part of your life, is moving up through the layers, through the competence, through the managing, through the organized, capable, reliable presentation of yourself, and making itself known again. And if you are not prepared for it, it can feel like going backward. Like revisiting something you thought you had already processed, already dealt with, already put behind you. Your first instinct may be to push it back down. To remind yourself that this belongs to the past, that it is not useful to revisit it, that you have more important things to attend to than old pain that has already been given more than enough of your attention. But Virgo, this surfacing is not a failure of your healing. It is the completion of it. Old wounds do not return because they were not properly filed away. They return because they are ready to be seen at a deeper level than was possible when they first appeared. At the time of the original wound, you did the best you could with what you had, the resources, the understanding, the support that were available to you then. But healing is not always linear, and what you were not able to fully release then can surface again when you are capable of releasing it more completely. You are capable of that now. The wound coming up is coming up because you have grown enough, healed enough, and are steady enough to finally let it complete its release. Let yourself feel what surfaces without immediately trying to manage it into resolution. You do not need to analyze it into healing. Sometimes healing asks only that you witness it, that you look at the old pain with the compassionate eyes of who you have become and allow it, finally, to let go. 10. A clearer, more settled sense of who genuinely belongs in your life and who has already served their purpose. As your energy shifts, the way you experience your relationship shifts along with it. This is perhaps one of the most noticeable and, at times, most unsettling of the changes you are beginning to feel, because it involves people you have cared about, people you have history with, people whose presence in your life has felt like a fixed part of the landscape. But landscapes change. And as you change, the resonance you have with the people around you changes too. Some of those people, the ones who are genuinely aligned with who you are becoming, who meet your growth with their own, who hold you in a way that is honest and supportive and real, those connections will feel deeper now. More settled, more clearly valuable. There will be a quality of certainty about them that is warm and grounding. But others, the ones who were right for an earlier version of you, the connections that were built on dynamics that no longer reflect who you actually are, the relationships that persist more out of habit or obligation than out of genuine mutual nourishment, those will feel more complicated. You may notice a distance that has grown without either party forcing it. You may notice that conversations that used to flow now require effort. You may notice that you feel less like yourself in certain company than you do in your own quiet. This clarity is not a judgment of those people. It is information about alignment. Every connection serves a purpose for the time it is alive, and there is genuine gratitude to be held for what those relationships gave you, even as you acknowledge that they may have given everything they had to offer. The ones who belong to your next chapter are beginning to show themselves. Trust the warmth when you feel it. Trust the clarity when it comes. 11. A deep, quiet, very certain knowing rising in you that something significant is on its way, and that this time you are truly ready for it. Virgo, of all the things you will feel as your energy shifts, this last one is perhaps the most distinctive, and the most worthy of your full attention. Beneath the tiredness, beneath the heightened sensitivity, beneath the clearing of old patterns and old wounds and relationships that have run their course, there is something else entirely. Something that is not tired at all. Something that is, in fact, awake in a way it has not been in a very long time. It is a knowing, quiet and certain. Not anxious, not urgent, not demanding, but steady and clear and unmistakable when you become still enough to feel it. The knowing that something is coming. Not the worried anticipation that your overthinking mind sometimes creates around possible outcomes. This is different from that. This is a genuine, grounded, bone-deep sense that something significant is in motion in your life. Something that is moving toward you with the kind of inevitability that the universe reserves for things that are truly meant for the person they are coming to find. And alongside the knowing of what is coming, there is something equally significant, the sense that this time you are ready. Not prepared in the way your planning mind typically tries to make you prepared, by thinking through every possibility and building defenses against every risk. Ready in a different way. Ready in the way that someone is ready who has been through enough, healed enough, learned enough, and grown enough to meet what is coming with open hands rather than clenched fists. This knowing is real, Virgo. It is not wishful thinking. It is not the mind projecting hope onto an uncertain future. It is the deeper part of you, the part that has always known more than your analytical mind has given it credit for, telling you clearly and quietly that the next chapter is close. Trust it. Let it settle in you. Let it be the steady ground beneath every uncertain step you take between now and the moment when what is coming finally arrives. If this message resonated with your sign, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it always sends exactly the right signal, and you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support as a subscriber or as a member of this community is what keeps these messages alive. They are the messages that touch, awaken, and transform. If this video made sense to you, leave in the comments the day you were born. Virgo, the changes described in this message are not happening to you. They are happening for you. There is an important difference between those two experiences. When something happens to us, we are subject to it. We are the ones being acted upon, moved around, shifted without our full consent or understanding. But when something happens for us, we are participants. We are the ones who, at some level, called for this, not necessarily in words or in conscious intention, but in the accumulated energy of every honest question we asked ourselves, every moment we stayed when it would have been easier to look away, every long and quiet hour we spent doing the difficult inner work that no one else could see or measure or applaud. You have done that work. You have sat with your own complexity in the long hours when the world was not watching. You have been honest with yourself in ways that were uncomfortable. You have kept going when keeping going required more than you felt you had. And what is shifting in you now, this deep, layered, multidimensional movement of energy that shows itself in all the ways described in this message, is the response to all of that. It is life reorganizing itself around who you have been working to become. There will be moments in this transition when it does not feel like a gift. There will be moments when the surfacing of old things, the uncertainty of new ones, the disorientation of patterns breaking and familiar comforts falling away will simply feel hard. Give yourself permission for that. You do not need to be grateful for every difficult moment in real time. You do not need to hold a cheerful perspective on the parts that hurt. You only need to keep trusting the larger movement, the one this message is describing, and to remember in the hard moments that the discomfort is not a sign that something went wrong. It is a sign that something real is changing. You are more ready than you know, Virgo. The version of you that is coming into view, Steadier, more self-aware, more attuned, more honest, more fully yourself than you have ever allowed yourself to be, is worth every uncertain step of the path that leads there. Keep walking. Keep listening. Keep trusting the deep, quiet knowing that is already rising in you. Something significant is on its way, and you, at last, are ready to receive it in full.